This is Story Recap. Today I'm going to explain a comedy, drama, and sci-fi film called Simone. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. At a film studio, director Viktor Taransky panics when his lead actress, Nicola Anders, walks out. Victor tries to convince her to stay by making all the changes she wanted on the script, but Nicola is offended that she wasn't provided the largest trailer, pointing out how the one next to hers is taller. Victor desperately convinces her otherwise by deflating the other trailer's tires to make it shorter. Nicola scoffs and reveals that she already went to the press and claimed that she left the film due to creative differences. Frustrated, Victor tells her the difference is she's not creative. Victor and the studio executives watch the scenes that Nicola has already filmed. The producers like her performance, so Victor promises that they have enough footage to complete the film. However, Nicola's lawyer already warned them that she'll sue the studio if they use her image. Victor suggests recasting, but the executives aren't confident in completing the film without Nicola. His ex-wife and studio head, Elaine, suggests shelving the film instead to cut their losses, but Victor adamantly refuses. Later, Elaine scolds Victor for being difficult. He points out that Nicola has several specific and ridiculous demands to work on a film. Therefore, she's the one being difficult. He rants how directors used to tell movie stars what to do. Elaine argues that the film industry is a business, and Victor yells that he doesn't care about the investments. He just wants to make a movie. Elaine reminds him that his glory days are over, and therefore, the studio won't be renewing his contract. Hearing this, Victor walks away in defeat. His daughter, Lainey, finds him as he walks out. Victor shares that he still aims to finish his film, so Lainey encourages him. That evening, Victor takes all the reels he has for his film. As he loads them into his trunk, a man approaches him. The man shows him a news clipping of his old interview, where Victor claimed that actors are over-pampered prima donnas. The man introduced himself as Hank, whom he met at a film conference years ago. Hank worked on his own project since their meeting, but it caused him to develop an inoperable eye tumor. Realizing what Hank is offering, Victor laments that a virtual actor will not work. Hank promises that it could, but he needs Victor's eye for raw performance to see if his program is convincing. Hank pours out his admiration for Victor's work, but Victor dismisses him. He promises to call him in a week, but Hank reveals that he'll be dead by then due to his tumor. Over the next few days, Victor attempts to call several agents to get an actress for his movie, but none of them agrees to work with him. Someone knocks on his door, and assuming it's a loan collector, Victor runs away. The man eventually reaches him and tells him he's Hank's lawyer. Hank recently passed away and left Victor his hard drive. That evening, Victor installs the hard drive into his computer, and it opens a program called Simulation 1. The program shows him a 3D rendition of a woman, catching his attention. 9 months later, Elaine, Lainey, and the producers watch Victor's finished film, where he used the virtual woman to replace Nicola. The producers are in awe of the performance. Meanwhile, Victor is stressed out and practices a speech in the bathroom in case he gets sued for using a virtual actor. When Victor returns to the theater, the producers and test audience compliment his film and the actress. Lainey asks where he found her, so Victor explains that he saw her picture on the computer. He asks Lainey if she found the actress unusual, but Lainey thinks she's brilliant. After the film is released, everyone starts talking about the new actress, Simone. When Victor arrives at the studio, Elaine is confused why Simone isn't with him, so he explains that she's not interested in attending their event. Elaine shares how the critics continue to praise Simone, but Victor reveals that the actress is a recluse, so she won't be making appearances. Victor then heads to his private set and powers up the Simulation 1 program to access Simone. Victor celebrates how he has created a new era of digitized actors. When Simone's programming response doesn't satisfy him, Victor reprograms her to make her act like Lauren Bacall. He then loads a scene from Breakfast at Tiffany's to make Simone talk like Audrey Hepburn. Victor is satisfied with finally having an actress that he's comfortable with. He ponders if he'd tell the world the truth about Simone, but considering that Hank is the only one who knows about the program, Victor doesn't see the point in it. Still, Victor considers revealing the truth after their next film. At the press conference, Victor reads a statement that he claims is from Simone. He declares that Simone wants the world to respect her privacy and that she will begin working on her new project with him. As he walks away, a reporter named Max Sayer asks who Hank is, since his new film shows that it was dedicated to him. Victor answers that Hank was previously involved in the film but is now only there in spirit. While waiting for his car, Victor is approached by his lead actor, Hal Sinclair. Hal is excited that he and Simone had such chemistry and asks Viktor for the lead part in his new movie. Hal lies that he met with Simone, and she thought he was perfect for the role. Viktor fakes a call and says it's Simone, making Hal freeze. Meanwhile, Max and his partner eavesdrop on Viktor's supposed conversation, but they don't hear Simone talking. One afternoon, Lane steps out to set the table on Viktor's porch but finds a crowd of reporters in front of his house. The reporters demand Simone, and Max accuses Viktor of holding her hostage. Later, Viktor drops Lainey off at Elaine's house. Elaine invites him inside to talk about his new movie, Eternity Forever. Elaine points out that their budget doesn't include anything for Simone's services, but Viktor stresses that Simone prefers to care for herself. As she walks Viktor to his car, Elaine warns him to be careful since his recent film wouldn't have worked without Simone. She brings up the history of young actors destroying the studios and the people that discovered them. Soon, Viktor meets the cast of Eternity Forever, whose contract forbids them from rehearsing or shooting Simone. Viktor sets up a speakerphone where Simone communicates with her co-stars. Simone requests to be left alone with them to get to know them, so Viktor hurriedly heads to his private set to control Simone's responses. After shooting some scenes with Hal, Viktor inputs Simone into a scene and adjusts her expressions as he wants them. Given Simone's success, Viktor decides not to reveal the truth to the world. To strengthen his deception, Viktor checks Simone into a hotel and demands strict discretion from the receptionist. He then stages the hotel suite to make it look like Simone was there. The hotel receptionist tips off some reporters, as Viktor intended. Viktor then ushers a cloaked woman to the hotel and into a car, making the reports go wild as they assume that she's Simone. After the car drives off, Viktor thanks Faith, whom he hired as a stand-in for Simone. Faith admires Viktor's effort to protect Simone's privacy. Faith seduces Viktor, so they end up getting intimate in his home. However, when Faith urges him to treat her like Simone, Viktor realizes that she only wants to sleep with him to feel like Simone. Weirded out, Viktor refuses. Later, Max pays the hotel receptionists to see the suite that Simone stayed in. Max collects the discarded lingerie and soap that he thinks Simone used. He then lies down on the bed and kisses the toothbrush, not knowing that Viktor dropped it in the toilet earlier. The advanced screening for Viktor's new film is a success. Yet the executive praises Elaine for greenlighting the project instead of Viktor. At the studio's party, Hal demands to meet Simone from Viktor. When they see a blonde woman in an eye-catching dress, Hal calls her Simone, gathering the guests' attention. The crowd rushes to meet the mysterious actress, only to realize that the woman is someone else. The day after, Max is pissed that his crew couldn't get an interview with Simone during the party. Even though they watch Viktor's every move and take satellite photos, they can't find her. Max is adamant about flushing out Simone and orders his men to write a fake tell-all story about her. Soon, the magazine publishes a fake childhood story about Simone. Suddenly, the executives demand to see Viktor's private set. They reveal that Eternity Forever isn't selling as well as they hoped, so they want Simone to do press releases and marketing campaigns. Viktor insists that people love Simone because she refuses to be in the limelight, but Elaine forcefully enters the set. Inside, they search for Simone but get confused when they only find Viktor's computer and screens. Viktor lies that Simone is agoraphobic and spends all her time in front of the computer. The executives are convinced, but struggles to plan how to make her address the public. Victor suggests a taped interview, but they insist that they do it live. Using motion capture to make Simone mimic his movements, Victor inputs Simone in a live interview with Frank Brand. Frank asks Simone about her insistence on privacy, but Simone answers that people shouldn't care about her life story just because she appears in a movie. She insists that the limelight should focus on the films because she's completely different from the characters she plays on the set. Frank then asks her about her romances, but she simply answers that she and Victor are inseparable. The audience is entirely captivated by Simone, but Max recognizes the location behind her. Suddenly, the program malfunctions due to low memory. Victor desperately tries to fix it, but Frank excuses it as technical difficulties and graciously ends the interview. The next day, Max drives up to the desert and finds the same tree that was behind Simone. However, they notice that there's a new hotel building seen from afar, yet the horizon was empty during Simone's interview. Eternity Forever becomes a success, and more people demand for Simone. She appears in more magazine covers and interviews, where she continues to praise Victor's work, much to Elaine's jealousy. One day, Max confronts Victor about the fake background from Simone's first interview. Max reveals that he studied every one of Simone's supposed public appearances, and he's convinced that she never leaves the studio. He then accuses Victor of embezzling Simone's paycheck since everything goes into his bank account. He even accuses Victor of abducting Simone and threatens to take his evidence to the authorities. To appease him, Viktor promises to let Max see Simone in person. Weeks later, Viktor prepares a stadium for Simone's first concert. Using a hologram, Simone appears on stage, and the crowd goes wild. The concert is televised worldwide, as millions, including Max, are captivated by Simone's performance. After the concert, Viktor prepares signed photos of Simone that includes a kiss mark that he makes. Suddenly, Lainey and Elaine knocks on his private van, and he greets them. Elaine notices the lipstick on Viktor's lips and assumes he'd been making out with Simone. The next day, Elaine shares her theory that Simone is taking advantage of Viktor to her boyfriend, Kent. She worries that once Simone has what she wants, she'll dump Viktor and destroy him. Kent comments that she hasn't stopped talking about Viktor, which has made him feel left out. One afternoon, Lainey visits Viktor and reveals that Elaine broke up with Kent because she's jealous of Simone. Viktor insists that he's not in a relationship with Simone, so Lainey suggests letting Simone talk to Elaine to clear things up. One day, Elaine receives a call from Simone while she's driving. She looks to the car next to hers and sees a mannequin she assumes is Simone. Viktor drives next to the mannequin, hidden from Elaine's view, as he assures his ex-wife that the relationship is simply professional. Suddenly, the mannequin falls to the side, causing Viktor to swerve the car while attempting to upright it. At the Oscars, Simone ends up tying with herself as Best Actress. Simone makes a recorded appearance to accept the award, which she dedicated to Hank. Elaine asks who Hank is, and Viktor explains that he's her father. Lainey notes that Simone didn't mention Viktor in her speech, so he checks the recording he made previously. He's stunned that he forgot to add himself in her acceptance speech. One day, Nicola visits Viktor to audition for his new movie. She apologizes for walking out on his set before and shares that she was inspired to change her lifestyle because of Simone. Nicola then enacts a scene from the script and proceeds to kiss Viktor as part of the scene. Viktor offers Nicola the lead role, but she points out that Simone already has that part. On Lainey's birthday, Viktor gives her the car Simone supposedly drove in Eternity Forever. However, she refuses the gift because she wants her father to be as he was before becoming reliant on Simone's fame. She comments that his films have become all about Simone. That evening, Viktor tells his assistant that he'll be having dinner with a certain someone in his house, prompting his assistant to call Elaine. Elaine sneaks into Viktor's house, believing that he'll be with Simone, but finds him alone instead. Elaine asks when his date will be arriving, but he reveals that she's already here. Viktor confesses that he wants to get back together with Elaine, which she happily accepts. But Elaine starts feeling guilty and believes that Viktor will eventually go back to Simone. Frustrated, Viktor reveals that he created Simone on a computer, but Elaine just thinks he's drunk. To discredit Simone, Viktor creates Simone's directorial debut film where she crawls with pigs. He is satisfied when the audience is disgusted with her scenes, but they give her a standing ovation when the credits roll. He then makes Simone appear in a live interview where she is drunk, smoking, and making crude social comments. Much to Viktor's surprise, the audience loves her honesty. Defeated, Viktor visits Hank's grave and laments that Simone is killing him the same way she killed Hank. He figures that the public won't stop looking for her even if he stops making her appearances. Suddenly, he gets an idea. In his private set, Viktor confides to Simone that though everything he'd done was for the art at first, it seems to have changed since he now cares that people like her more than him. He inserts a disk label displayed into the computer and proceeds to delete her programming. He takes the hard drive and all recorded data of Simone into a chest, which he then drops into the sea. Soon, Viktor announces to the press that Simone passed away from a rare virus that she contracted during her Goodwill tour. During the funeral, police officers arrive and inspect the coffin, revealing that it only contains a cutout of Simone. They arrest Viktor, accusing him of killing her. During the investigation, Nicola shares how Viktor wanted her to replace Simone, while Max shares his theory that he kept Simone prisoner. Viktor confesses that Simone is not real, but the detective doubts his claims. The police acquired footage of Viktor dragging a large chest to his yacht, believing that Simone's body was inside. Viktor insists that they recover the chest from the sea to prove he's innocent, but they find it empty. The police now believe that Simone's body was eaten by sharks. Viktor's lawyer suggests that he pleads guilty to avoid a jury trial. Viktor stresses that he didn't kill anyone, but the lawyer mistakes his claims as insanity, suggesting they use it in court. Meanwhile, Elaine and Lainey enter Viktor's private set, where Lainey tries to access the files from his computer. Elaine believes that Viktor did kill Simone, but is more bewildered that he denied her existence. Lainey, however, is skeptical that Simone actually existed. Finally, Lainey finds the plague disk that Viktor left in the computer. She accesses the files and recreates what it destroyed. At this point, Viktor is given up and confesses to Simone's murder. Suddenly, the detective turns the television on where the news reports that Simone is alive, leading to Viktor's release. When he reunites with his family, they revealed how Lainey figured out Simone's programming. Elaine then suggests creating an entire virtual cast, which Viktor isn't excited about. Elaine invites Viktor and Simone to move in, and Lainey assures him that they forgive him for creating the fake actress. Eventually, Simone reappears on Frank's show, where she claims that she disappeared because she needed time for herself. She then reveals that she's interested in entering politics to create a better future for her and Viktor's baby. Behind the scenes, Lainey helps her father create his new virtual family to convince the world that Simone exists.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.